Okay, so you are in Glasgow, Scotland.
Yeah.
And then they give you orders. Did they take your plane from you there?
No, sir. I don't remember taking that plane at all. I don't remember ever getting out of this plane.
Got it. Because Sandy, he'd mentioned, they said, take all your stuff and your belongings, and they took your plane, and then they were giving it to a crew. What they did is they would sometimes take the brandy new planes and give them to the guys who had completed 20 some odd missions, and so they would get the new planes and they'd hand off all of the planes that had weren't as nice to the new crews coming in. But
I don't remember at all. I don't remember that.
But you were in a silver plane with red markings with the W.
Triangle W.
Triangle W. So if I've got it, you were 8th Air Force, 398th, 601st.
First bomb screw, yeah.
Hell from Heaven.
Yep, that's it. Well, yeah, you got a lot of stuff there that that's exactly what it was.
And then you were part of that had that devil baby. So the baby with the pitchfork coming down, that was the patch.
Yeah.
That was you guys.
Yeah.
And then I've tracked on the planes. So your first mission, so you get into Northampstead, and do they put you in the tents or do they put you in the
Kwanzaa huts?
Kwanzaa huts.
Kwanzaa.
Okay. And Sandy talked about a pub that was there.
Yeah, there was.
Northampstead.
Yeah, we had a couple pubs there.
And so they got you some places to stay. And tell me about your first mission. What was that like?
Well, that was at Leipzig, to Leipzig.
Okay.
It was pretty uneventful, except when we got back. We knew we got hit, but we come back by south. I forget who counted. A couple of us counted. Had 57 holes in the plane.
Wow.
Which meant nothing. That was never nothing because those were holes, say, like your little finger.
Got it.
But later on, I'll tell you about what that
does.
flak's capable of.
And so your first flight's Leipzig, uneventful.
Yeah, I'd say
not
so.
too much flak.
There was quite a few fighters out there.
Okay.
There was a lot of fighters out there. They of course, fighters always had a habit of staying out away from the action.
Okay.
I mean, they got a chance to come in and whack you when you was kind of defenseless. They found a couple of them lagging along or something, you know, when they come right down on them and go after them.
Got it.
And stuff like that. Of course, that was the thing they did. I mean, that's what the Americans did too, though. The American fighter pilots did the same thing.
And so, did you have a fighter escort going into Leipzig?
I think we had P-51s. Yes, I'm pretty sure.
And then, do you remember firing your waist gun at fighters on that mission?
Not on that mission, because I don't know where. Sometimes I was flying with the radio operator, and other times I was just back in the waist firing.
And was it cold?
Well, let's put it this way. If you go 21,000 feet or 24,000 feet, or whatever it is where you bomb from, it was temperatures around 35 to 40 below zero.
Wow.
And the planes, of course, you know all this stuff. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. You know all this stuff. It was an open plane.
So you didn't have the plexiglass on the side of the. At your gun port, did you have plexiglass or was it open?
It was open.
Okay. That tells me which model you had.
Yeah, it was open, and you had to keep mucus at that kind of a altitude. Mucus kept running out of your nose into your diaphragm, and you had to make sure you remember to keep taking that and squashing that and breaking it so you could breathe.
Yeah, or else it would
That's
clog
how
up the
cold.
oxygen.
That's how cold it was. It was cold.
Wow.
Of course, we was plugged into electric heaters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Our suits. At that time, we had electric heated suits, and we was plugging them in we plugged them in
To keep warm.
Had a thermostat. Had a thing for oxygen. You can walk, little lips that kept moving for the oxygen, make sure you're breathing right.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a heat thermostat for that. You had a lot of things in the air to contend with.
Right. You just had to kind of. You were busy trying to stay alive from
true.
not freezing to death,
That's right. That's right.
So Leipzig came back, and then your second mission. What was your second mission?
Well, if I remember right, the second mission was an aborted mission.
Okay. So you got up. It was like a Saint Marie or Saint something.
And I don't think anybody ever, as far as I remember, no one ever made a recorded or anything. I think it just wiped it off.
Got it.
It was cloud cover over. I didn't know the name of that place.
Saint Sins, S-E-I-N-S.
It was
Saint
it was a pretty good. It was Annenberg, I think.
Okay.
Annenberg, and they called us off because there was a cloud cover over it. But then the third mission must have been the last mission.
That was your last one. So, tell me what that was like. So waking up, they come in and they wake you up. So you did back to back. So you flew on the 7th, and then the next day you flew on this mission.
Yeah.
And what was that? Do you remember that morning getting up?
Yes, sir. I remember the same thing. I rolled over, and then this guy, the orderly, said, "You're going to get up. You're going to fly." So my feet hit the floor in a hurry, and you had to be at a briefing a certain time.
Okay.
You know? And I don't remember about Bone. I'm just, because he was always there. He was always on that tail of that plane, and he was with me on the ground all the time.
Uh-huh.
We was good, real good friends and buddies. But
And Sandy said, so normally Reginald's Ferguson was on the right. You both were in the same area together, correct?
yeah,
And then, but they put Fergie in the tail.
that's right.
So
He flew in case of Jack Bone.
And then Sandy said that you guys had a really good way of communicating. You guys had worked out a code to where you could communicate really effectively back and forth.
We didn't want anybody ever on the plane to know everything we was thinking. And but the only problem is with that, it's like Atkinson told me one time. He said these bars don't mean a damn thing up in the air like that. Said we're one group, and your life depends on me, and my life depends on you. We're all at one, and that's it. So that's just about the attitude we had.
It's a good attitude. We have that same thing in the medical side when we're working with our doctors and our nurses and the EMTs and the paramedics. We are one team.
That's it.
And we function as one, and we're really brief. We don't, the formalities of talking to an officer versus enlisted, that gets thrown out the door. And we talk by first names, and it's not that we're being disrespectful of the officers or enlisted, but we're very brief and concise because we have to be, because we're limited on our time.
But that protocol with our officers, we respected all these officers, but we called them Lieutenant Dunn, Lieutenant Wilson, Lieutenant so and so, and once in a while we'd call them yes sir, something like that. I thought we was pretty good with that thing.
Awesome. But
the co-pilot, that was one of the nicest. Atkinson, that's the strangest thing. He was one of the most scared. The guy would drive you crazy. Talk about how scared he was.
Huh.
We were scared too, but he on the ground or somewhere. He was one of the nicest guys from Florida. Nice looking, curly haired guy. And I think everyone on that plane had to like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bone and I one time was I might have been out in Santa Ana.
Mm-hmm.
We just decided to go somewhere to eat, and he said, "Where are you guys going to go to eat?" Well, we don't know. He says, "Can I go with you?" So right away we said, "Well, you're an officer. You can't go with us." He said, "Well, no, we're just going to go eat. This won't make any difference." So I told Jack, I said, we walked down this little street. It was some kind of a quaint. I can still see that restaurant. It was one of them kind that we couldn't speak English, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we could understand much that they said. But I told Jack, I said, "Now, we're out here. If a listening man comes by here and salutes Atkinson, don't forget, you salute back."
You had to remember, same thing happens
We
here.
went out
And has not changed.
We went out there like fools, and right away this GI come along.
Oh, no.
Give me my highballs. There's no stupid bone, and I gave him that. we felt funny. He didn't say a word.
Oh.
He didn't say a word.
Yep, the same thing happens today. It's not changed.
Oh my!
That is awesome. So you're at the plane. You have your briefing. They tell you where you're going. You get to the plane. You realize Jack Bone's not there, so you're prepping, and Fergie's getting himself situated in the tail. And then, what was it like getting ready and taking off?
Well, taking off, I felt I had a kind of strange feeling when Jack wasn't there.
Okay.
First place. Jack always seen things out there at high altitude somewhere when we was up there in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
He kept saying, he'd say, "Jerry, look out there at the 4 o'clock or 9. You see something out there?" I looked out there and I couldn't see a thing. I said, "What do you see, Jack?" I said, "Oh, well, nothing." But he kept seeing things, and I felt funny about getting on that plane when he wasn't there. Something was missing.
Gotcha. And so George had said, so he briefed the crew, told you that Jack wasn't going to be there, and that Reginald was doing tail. He was going to be the tail gunner, and then he wanted you on the left side.
On the left side. So anyway, we got together and we took off, went over the channel as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, you loosen your guns up over the channel.
Okay.
You fired the guns. I had several of those cartridges on my feet,
mm-hmm.
where I'd fired them out of there. And we then when we got into that, I knew the flak was heavy. Seeing it, it was out there. It was black. It was black,
mm-hmm.
and black and heavy. And I don't know. At that time, there was two 109s flying together side by side out there on the left somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably might have fired a few rounds just
spook them off.
And decided it wasn't no use because they were outside the night. So I thought, well, I better leave them alone because they're like if you're like a bee, they might get mad.
You don't want to swat the bee.
So kind of left them alone then. So it was right after this where everything that you never would not imagine happened to you.
So do you know what they were doing? They were marking your altitude and your speed. And so they were up there and they were gauging at what altitude you were at and at what speed and direction you
Probably
were
were, yeah.
because
So they get the
they'll radio
data
in.
from the ground up,
Yep.
so they can know where to go. Because they were very accurate with that day.
And so you had turned from Paris. You're on your bomb run. You're 2 minutes from bomb run. You're on the waist side. Tell me, and then you're starting to get into the flak.
Yeah, okay. I heard nothing. The first thing I noticed was I looked out behind the oxygen rack. There was a hole about like that, right behind the oxygen rack.
Okay.
And I thought, ooh, that's bad. And this deal,
And that was a flak. That flak had hit you.
yeah, I think, yeah, that must have been flak, because flak will make a hole in you the side of your fingernail, or it can make a hole in your side of that big. It's big. It's flak's dangerous.
Got it.
Man. The IDOT method did not ever